Are we on, Jim?
Yes, we are.
Hi, welcome to ReneMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm ReneMarie, and we have an awesome show. And I got to say, before we begin, that the last show was really an important show. It really had a lot of conversations with Cindy Fiesel about children and about affecting or hurting their brains. Her husband died of CTE. So we're keeping the conversation going, but I thought it was really important that I just recommend to parents to watch the last show we did. Um, we don't want to tell you what to do, but we want to educate you on keeping your children healthy. That's what's really important is our children, the next generation, and how they're going to um, run the world. The children are the next ones that are going to run the world. And if we don't help them to grow and prosper and love them through it, the way that's my motto, and love them through it in the proper fashion, we're not doing our due diligence. So please watch a show and please reach out to Cindy if you have any questions. And please tune in because we're going to have a lot of conversations about that. But we have an awesome show. Cindy, how do you say your last name, Cindy? Cindy. Sonia. I was thinking about Cindy. Sonia. How do you say your last name?
Schnee.
Schnee. I didn't want to say it incorrectly. Schnee. Sonia Schnee. That's a beautiful name. That's a beautiful name. So Cindy was introduced to me by Steve Gutman. Cindy does a lot of work for foundations and for musicians and inspiring artists and just people in the art world. But I loved Cindy and we connected because of her philosophy. And she copied this to leave the world a better than you found it. She is the oh gosh, to leave the world a little better than you found it is the best a man or woman can ever do. Who wrote that, Cindy? Sonia?
So that was Paul Astor.
Yeah.
I believe his name is author.
So it really is important. So this show, we're actually, Judy, thank you so much for joining, for doing everything for this show. Without Judy, this show would not occur. And I keep saying, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, Judy is the backbone to this show. So thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you. I enjoy doing it.
And on the other backbone is Jim, who is on the screen right now. Thank you, Jim, from the Studio Village connection in Long Island.
Thank you.
But before we begin, Jim and I got on early today, and we actually were talking about partnering, and we never really had a chance to discuss it. But before the show, we discussed it. So, on the last show, we actually announced that we're actually partners right now. Nice. Village Connection and ReneMarie Language of Love are partnering to really bring education about strokes and aphasia for the foundation. And Jim, we actually have a little piece of that. I want Jim to share with everybody because it really is an important thing. And it really helps people, and that's a perfect tie-in to where we're going with this show. So Jim, talk to us a little about the Village coupons.
So as you know, I've been in marketing for a while. I had a print magazine for 20-something years locally.
Put the mic to your mouth, Jim, because I can't hear you.
I was mumbling. So I had a print magazine for years, and I actually suffered an injury which made it so I wasn't able to do that as well. So I looked into some other ideas I was working on, and one of the things I was working on was this coupon idea, which I've had for years and never was able to put the attention into it. So, everyone gets these print coupons at home, the coupon books and these and that, and you get the one that comes to your town. But, if there's a town next to yours, you don't get those coupons. So with the digital coupons, it's on the phone. So no matter where you are, you can get the coupons in that area. And it's not limited to anywhere. I can get coupons in Texas. And when you go to Texas, you'll get the coupons on your phone that are in Texas. So it's kind of perfect with Renee because she's in Jersey and has a whole different network of people that could actually join this and help, because everyone who signs up will actually be also donating to her charity. So it's a perfect combination. Like Renee said, I've been working with them for years. And I've been working with them as my customer, but I would rather work with them as a partner where we're working together and we can help each other's causes.
Thank you, Jim. It's incredible. The coupons, I looked at it briefly. It really is. You just bring it up in your phone.
Yeah,
And honestly, you can touch the United States with it. You
pretty much.
know, so people like yourself, Sonia, which is pretty incredible, or any video production could really, because you don't. What we were talking about before is you don't need to go to the place. You could do the work
Online.
virtually,
Yep.
and that's one of the gifts of this pandemic. I mean, a lot of tragedies, and we want to, we don't want to disrespect those that have suffered through this because we've all suffered through it. But new things have prospered, and new things have what's the word I'm looking for? Started plant the seeds and
Yeah.
started to grow. And this is one of the things with the pandemic, is that people are um, taking more time for their families and doing things from home,
Yep.
and this virtual world is pretty incredible. I mean, Jim was always doing the broadcast virtually for the internet, and I'm not sure if you did it, Sonia. You could share it with me in a little bit. But now, all of a sudden, during this pandemic, ABC was doing it, NBC was doing it, CBS was doing it, and Jim said, like, they're doing what we used to do, all the time.
We were actually ahead of them. We were actually doing it better than them because we were already doing it.
And let's not forget, we even reached Australia.
Yes.
Australia and Israel. Well, I did a show with a gentleman named Sam, who his brother suffered a stroke. Forget. It was a long time ago. And they were tuning in. I'm like, wow,
That's great.
that blows my mind. It blows my mind. So Sonia, thank you for joining us today. We're so happy that you're joining the family. We have a family here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's great what you do. It truly is. And
Oh,
just have to keep spreading information because people don't know what they don't know. And it's
Right.
always great to meet examples and, have real conversations. So thank you for what you do.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about both your businesses and how they tie together, because we want to spread your awareness to everybody.
Mhm. Okay, so I have two businesses. One is called Jersey Indie. Our tagline is showcasing New Jersey's independent artists, small businesses, and creative minds. And then the other part of that, and they are linked, there is some overlap, is Jersey Video Production. It's my second business. And that is helping small, mid-sized business owners, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and various organizations tell their story using the power of video.
So they don't do it live. You do it via video shoot.
Yes. So it's really been interesting what you mentioned with the pandemic in terms of things becoming digital. So during the pandemic, there was definitely a lot of virtual, a lot of Zoom interviews, which were great because then you could reach people all over, and it was equal access for everybody. And suddenly, everybody's stories became they got equal airtime, so to speak. So yeah, but now it's becoming a little more in-person filming and doing things that are kind of a lot of it comes together in the editing, something that I always have loved since I was a child. I like to say, before I learned how to read or write, I would tell stories through pictures. So I've always loved storytelling. And the ability to tell stories is really important, and the ability to edit it together. So usually when I go out and film live, it's getting someone's full story and then figuring out how to cut it down into something delivered into a format. Maybe it's social media where it's short, or YouTube where it's something longer, but to help try to pick out the really beautiful gems and nuggets about why someone's passionate about what they do.
What I'm thinking about now is Anne Agueli. She's one of our partners, and she actually, and we'll talk about this at a later date, but she actually she started a long time ago, Pearls of Wisdom. And it's going into nursing homes and interviewing people about their stories about life. They have such wonderful stories about their lives, and their education and their knowledge it really is important to document that. And that, so that would be awesome for us to work together on that, because all have the same vision and mission in life. So you do the editing on your own?
Yes. So I am, whenever I do a production, I'll bring in different people to handle the equipment. And then I focus on the directing and making sure I'm really bringing the stories out of people. And then I go back and I edit it and take out the best parts and put them together and put some nice music underneath it, or different things to kind of visual frosting to glam it up a little bit. But yes, I do the editing part.
So Jim, how did you get into this production world? I know you just said it because you had an injury, but it's not something. I mean, have you always liked the video world, the production world, I should say?
I was more of a marketing
person. Put the thing to your mouth. We can't hear you.
I was more of a marketing person and promotions and things like that. And it's just that, as things progressed, video became the next marketing tool. I saw it coming, as far as what people were doing. And, everyone was doing podcasts and this and that. But what's better than a podcast is a video production where you actually can see the people that you're dealing with. So I kind of fell into it, playing with it while I had the magazine, just doing it on the side to help promote my magazine. That was the purpose of it. I wasn't doing shows. I wasn't doing anything else. So then it kind of, when I had my injury, I kind of fell into it for fun, to kill some time and to, forget about what was going on. And then I was doing a show for somebody, and the guest said, well, how much is it to do a show? And I was like, ding, like a little light went on. And I said, let me think about that, So that's how it all began. And then from there, as you guys know, it was kind of like a whirlwind. People all of a sudden wanted to do these video podcasts. Every time someone saw it, they wanted to do it. So I had like 23 shows right before the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit, and you said how things changed, and everyone learned how to Zoom. Everyone learned how to do video conferencing, and all of a sudden it was like there was no need for Jim anymore, like unless you wanted a nice back-end production, like a nice show with music and commercials. But otherwise, I lost a lot of shows, just people who wanted to do it at home on Zoom, and then they never stopped.
Let's not forget the telethon you did on Zoom.
Oh, the Zoom, that was great. Well, that was Renee. I mean, I just did what she gave me, that was unbelievable. We had some production.
I'm telling you, that was the best telethon.
I said, we were doing stuff before the networks were doing it, because we already had it down pat. And I was watching Channel 12 here fumble through their live streams at home, and I'm laughing going, these guys are professionals, and we do this every Sunday on Renee's show. So it's kind of like it leveled the playing field almost a little bit. Let someone at home do it.
Because I don't know, I'm sure, Sonia, because you're like me and Jim and Judy, that when you see something, you're learning and you're educating yourself, right. And you're viewing as a what's the word I'm looking for? As a student, So when I was watching the pandemic unfold and the shows were working from home, and they were doing it from their living rooms or their porches or their outsides. It's so funny how they eventually started putting those screens, the Zoom screens behind them, to make them look like they're in the studio. So do you like, I see your beautiful blue. I love that color behind you. It's slate blue. I love that slate blue. Is that a screen, or is that an actual board?
Oh, this is actually the one clear wall where I live. So I just happened to luck out. But
it looks beautiful. But don't you agree? Like the shows they have using the screens in the back.
Right.
Although I'll tell you, I don't like when they put the screen up and when you move around you lose your head or your arm.
Like
to me, I don't like that. I don't like that. But I think it's the I think I've learned that it's the camera view
and the lighting.
And the lighting.
Right.
That because I know, like the view, do it, and they don't have that issue. So would you know what helps not have that happen from a production end?
Right. Yes, like Jim said, it's really all the lighting, and also the type of camera too can make a difference. If they're using a little more high def camera,
Yeah.
high definition, so it's a little more pixels, things can be a little bit more of a clean outline. But really, yes, lighting is very important. I worked briefly with a rather large company that tried to do some green screening, and they didn't properly light it, and
Right.
so it made the editing part
Very difficult.
very, very difficult as things were disappearing that shouldn't have been disappearing.
So give us a little bit of history on yourself. Like, what have you done to get to this point? What were your stepping stones?
Right. So I majored in film and media when I was in college, and it was a very small program. So really got to know the production aspects of things fairly in depth because there were so few of us. And then after that, worked on various film and television sets and web series and different things in all various capacities. Sometimes I'd be holding a microphone, a boom mic, and other times I'd be, checking the script as a kind of a script supervisor. Other times it would be directing, even acting once. So all different little things kind of in the New York, New Jersey area. And after a while, I was just getting a little bit physically exhausted going from New Jersey. So I'm a little bit, not quite Western New Jersey, but I'd say I'm like on the border when middle central New Jersey becomes kind of Western New Jersey.
Right.
So it was a considerable commute going in. And so at that time, I met somebody who was starting a nonprofit, who was a former orchestra conductor, and she wanted to tell stories about New Jersey, which kind of ties into what eventually I ended up doing, designed specifically for the news and have it be video based. So she wanted to have little, like 2-3 minute clips of symphonies or jazz groups or different arts and cultural events in New Jersey to offer to the news stations in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania to show that New Jersey's not a kind of a cultural wasteland pass-through state, or some of the terms that I heard pretty often. So I ended up being their in-house video editor for about 5 years, 6 years, maybe even more than that. And then from there, I decided to. I wanted to tell a greater variety of stories because there was kind of a specific. It had to be a news format, so there were certain things you had to cut out because it had to be very, what are your beats, kind of this, and this, and a lot of those really interesting personal details had to hit the cutting room floor because it's like we don't really have enough time to explain why someone was inspired to do what they're doing. It was more just kind of like, okay, here's what's happening, and who, what, when, where, why, how, and kind of.
That's the way you write a press release.
Yes.
What?
So,
why?
Yes.
I learned that a long time ago.
And
right.
Judy, tell Sonia your history a little bit so that she could get to know you, because we all just kind of met today for the first time. Sonia and I did a Zoom a few months ago, and that's when I invited her to be on the show, but she'd never met Jim. Jim she knows now, but Judy, tell Sonia a little bit about your history.
I started out in the public affairs department of U.S. Plywood, Champion Pavers. And I was young and I worked really fast and ended up with 5 bosses. And decided that this was not working out because they weren't giving me a raise, but I was getting more and more work, and I was saying, what do you want to do first? I mean, whose work is more important? This is ridiculous. And I spoke to human resources, and they switched me into sales promotion, working for the sales promotion manager, programs manager. And he taught me not only sales promotion, but he taught me advertising and marketing. And when the company decided to move out of town, I went to seek another position and got really involved, what happened was I walked into an agency and they liked what my background was, and they said, "You're not going anywhere." And I started working for them. I did have an opportunity in the early days of not only getting my boss on TV, because one of the divisions of the agency was a new idea that he had about a publication where we interviewed people, put them in a magazine, and sold the magazine to various companies. And that was my early days. Then I went into office staffing manager and finally into executive recruiter, headhunter type things for accounting and finance. But I learned how to write press releases because one weekend my boss said to me, "You don't like my press piece? You don't like my photos? Okay, I paid a lot of money to an agency for this. You don't like them?" I said, "Well, it just isn't what I'm used to seeing working on the corporate side." And he said, "Okay, this weekend you write me a new press release. You write me a speech. You write me this. You write me that." And I called my former boss and said, "I'm in trouble. I have to write a press piece. I have to have it Monday, and I don't know where to start." He said, "Who, what, where, when, and how in the first sentence or two, because they cut from the bottom. And if you don't have all the facts in the first couple of sentences,
oh my God.
forget it."
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how I
Yeah.
started.
And then we're blessed to connect with Judy because, like I said, she is definitely the backbone to this show.
Thank you. I did a lot of networking over the years, belonged to many various organizations and still do: Rotary, Elks, Historical Society, my husband's retirement club. I networked a lot and made a lot of contacts. And one of them was Renee, because I believe in giving back. And my husband had, not my husband, my father had suffered a hemorrhagic stroke. And I wanted to be able to give back in that area. And that's how I connected with Renee.
And we're blessed. So, but we all are from the same mindset, right? We all believe that, you have to give. We need to give. So, but you know what I've learned, and I think you're going to agree with me, Sonia, is that people don't have the time to spend on an hour show. Like
Right.
they don't have time. Yeah, they may put it on in the car, they may listen, but so do you find that 2-3 minutes is really a video clip is more important than an hour show?
I'd say that they both serve their purpose. It depends on tailoring it to the specific audience and the platform. So I'd say, it's interesting, because during the pandemic, people weren't traveling long distances, commuting. So all of a sudden, the ability to sit for an hour and listen, and gladly listen for a whole hour because you're sitting in traffic going into the Lincoln Tunnel or wherever it might be, was really important, and people could sit and listen to that really in depth. But as people have been sitting in front of their computers, and maybe there's, they're scrolling on social media or going through Facebook or something, then that's where the short clips come in handy, because they're in the mindset of, okay, I only want to look at something for a few minutes and then go to the next thing. So I really think they're equally important, and you can use little clips to, have like a little teaser and then say, hey, if you want to watch the rest of this, if you find this really interesting, here's the link to the long one, the hour long. And
yeah, that's good.
When you have time, sit down and really listen and digest it. But I think I do like giving people kind of that option of, you have a little time, look at this.
That's why we do a show. But then, if there's really a segment of it that I think should be clipped, I clip it, and that's what we use as the tag for it, like you're saying. It's that we've been doing it for so long. I forget what I was going to say to you. I was going to say something and I forget when I start to talk. But so tell us a little bit about, one of the New Jersey based organizations that you've worked with. I don't know if you know this, but I have a dear friend, Fulvio Cesade, and he's working on New Jersey bands. What's it called? New Jersey Sounds, I think it's called. And he must have video clipped tons and tons of bands, and you know, and so tell us a little bit about one of the organizations that you've touched base with on in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. So I've worked with a few different nonprofits. One from the video end that I've done a lot with is the Hanover Wind Symphony, that's based in Hanover, Whippany area, and they're like a wind a wind symphony. So they have how many players? I want to say 80 or so, but it's all completely volunteers. So it's people from all different backgrounds. They come home from working at the hospital or working as a CEO in a company, or from working at home, and they all come together and they take this time every single Wednesday, I believe it is, to play, and all the concerts are free except for one. And yeah, they do that, and they love that. So it was interesting figuring out or hearing the stories of, well, why would someone want to do something like this that's so I guess you could say labor intensive, or that takes a lot of time to you're not getting paid to practice or to perform, and why do it. And so it's really interesting hearing all these people's different backgrounds about why they're so passionate about music, and why they look forward to carving out the time once a week.
What was one of their thought patterns on that? Like, I mean, to me, it just brings me joy to sing. It just fulfills me. That's how I speak. I speak on the show, and I think at this point, I know that what I say really matters. I don't have the freedom to speak unless I'm thinking about what I'm saying, because I know that people judge people, but I think at this point, because I've been in the public for so long, that people look to me for my thought patterns. They trust my thought patterns because my motto is to love people through it. I mean, we base our foundation on love and being honest and being truthful. So I think that it's really important that I speak from that space. So I don't have the freedom to just whim things out. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So anyway, so what are their thought patterns on why they sing and spend their time with music for no financial gain, or to spend all that time? Because I know how much time it takes to practice.
Right. Yes. So it was kind of a variety of reasons. Some were just purely for the love of music, that they had been performing or playing or singing or playing instruments since they were small children. Some, it was interesting, a number of people had just picked up instruments later in life in their 50s or 60s, and were like, oh, I think I'm going to learn the trombone, or how to play the trombone or the flute. And it was something, so part of it was also I think one person described it as the meditative aspect, where it could have really busy day and everything, be very work focused and then home focused, and this was kind of their time to have to themselves. And also another aspect was the community aspect, that all of a sudden just the energy of being around people who were equally passionate about the same thing, and being all together and having that camaraderie. So there, a lot of the interviews I did with individual players said they said that it felt like a family, that they really looked forward. It was like seeing their family and friends again to catch up. Yeah. So so it was a combination of things, but it's a great outlet for sure.
So how did you work with them? I know that, I mean, what did you do specifically for them, and how did they find you?
Right. So when I started my businesses, I had joined the Morris County Chamber of Commerce. So I had met them on my first meeting as a guest to a chamber meeting. And they happened to be sitting at my table, and I heard about what they do, and they heard about what I did. And afterwards, they came up and were like, "Hey, we have these concerts, and we're looking to get, well, I guess spread awareness about the concerts and get more people into the seats, and also try to reach another demographic too, and try to get high school students to come in. Because some of them were actually high school teachers in various capacities." So a light bulb clicked for them, and they're like, "Well, maybe we should do some kind of short promotional videos, like 2 to 5 minute video showing, okay, these are little snippets of the songs we're going to perform, and a little bit of interviews of getting to meet, various the artistic director and the conductor, etc." So I ended up doing, gosh, how many? I'd say maybe a dozen to 2 dozen short promotional videos of upcoming concerts. So I would go and record a rehearsal. So they'd rehearse a couple of times, over a series of weeks, and I would go and jump in maybe like the second to last rehearsal or so. So things were really pretty polished at that point. And I would come in along with 2 other videographers, and we'd just be there with cameras, getting all different angles and gathering that. And that's been going on, let's see, for about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sonia,
Go ahead, Judy.
you mentioned networking, and networking is the key to bringing in more business and to get more people knowing about what you do and what you could do for them.
Right.
So
yes.
what I was going to say is that I know that it's an art what you have, because it takes a vision and seeing what you're creating, and really seeing the gifts in each individual, and really how to promote, and what order it should go in, and what shoot you should use, what video angle you should use. It really is
it's really hard
art.
to do.
It's almost like painting, right? Because a painter has to, paint, but you're painting this canvas with beautiful videography, So I really commend you on your artistry. And I wonder if people know that about you, and know that you have that vision and that talent. Have you ever looked at it through those lenses?
That is an interesting thing, because something I do. I haven't done it in many years, but actually is painting. That I love to paint when I have some free time. So right, I guess it is something similar to that, or even working with clay. Like you have a big block of clay, and you don't go in right away and try to get the eyes perfect. You slowly take away parts, and then you get the head and the shape, and you get more and more detailed as you go in. But it is a little bit. I'd say there is definitely some artistry in it. It's so interesting watching film and being kind of a film and television buff, how much editing can make or break a performance.
Yes.
And can make it more exciting, or can make it really really boring, or make the actor or the presenter look really bad if you choose the wrong edit. So there is a lot of really detail. There's a lot of minutia that goes into really not only capturing the spirit of it, but also making the people who are speaking look and sound their best. I always tell people, it's more important that you come across as authentic, and then as the video editor, I can go in and take out your ums or your tangents or anything like that. So I say it's more important for people to just get a sense of you and your personality and your energy, and don't worry about getting everything 100%, because there's all sorts of, I guess you could say, smoke and mirrors that you can do to clean up, something that maybe doesn't sound, 100% great.
Well, what I've done when I've edited programs is I watch a program, and sometimes I'll notice that what they say at the end needs to come in the beginning. So I'll reverse you just make it flow, but it really is, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to video, because you have to look at it and then you have to create it, then you have to snip it, then you have to merge it, and you have to keep looking at it and getting the feel for if it's good, and then you send it to them and they no, yeah, like like it does take a lot of time to do the back end editing. It takes a lot of time, so it's pretty commendable on what your artistry, because you are an artist as well. You as an artist as well. So I want to bring that out. Jim does the live back end stuff.
Because I don't have that talent of being able to pull it all together.
Yeah, but it takes, I mean, like, let's focus what Judy was saying before on the telethon. Like, I think we had what, 30 or 40 videos.
Oh, yeah.
That I would send to Jim, and we had to come up with an order, and there was a format that we created to make it happen.
Right.
And Jim and I were like, I think like halfway through, what was it, like 2 hours or 3 hours in, we're like, Jim, live on the program, I said, Jim, let's just take a moment and really acknowledge that it's flowed.
Right.
It flowed so well.
Yeah, it did.
We didn't have one single issue in the telethon.
Nah.
And we did 8 hours, Sonia.
Yep.
8-hour program. And I know you'll understand this. It really is the preparation for it. It's not just the production. Right. You just can't go in. It took us hours and weeks of preparation for the telethon to make it flow. So Jim and I are going to work on. We're going to, if anybody needs a production company, I don't know if this is if you're into this, or if you do this, if we're stepping on your toes by saying it. But Jim and I, like, if anybody wants to hold a telethon, Jim and I could do the back end of it, because we already have the layout of what it takes to accomplish the end. I do the front end work and Jim does the back end work, and we work together, and it's incredible. And we would love to work with you, Sonia, because it's what we love, and Judy's forget it. Judy's everything. So she works very hard, very hard. So tell us a little bit about, what your vision is for your company. Like, I know, and how long have you been doing it? For 5 years?
Now I'd say it's 6.5, 7. Coming up on 7.
I mean, I know we get to platforms like our foundation is at a platform, and I just redid my website. I pulled them all together. So we're starting new and fresh. And so what's your visions for your where would you like to go with your organizations, your two businesses?
Mm-hmm. Right. I guess I'll start with the Jersey indie end. That I would love to really expand. Had to go through some revisions because it was very social media based in the beginning, and social media has changed so much. So there's been so many iterations of what you can do and how you should do things and how you can promote things, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of changed in terms of the business model. But I would love to expand that and really have a team all across New Jersey reporting on different things that are happening, and not have it be as large of a bottleneck in terms of me kind of approving different posts and things or clips and such. But I would love to see that expand, and also to expand even outside of New Jersey. So just this summer I announced that it's also going to be covering outside of New Jersey as well, because there's a lot of talent. It doesn't necessarily have to be New Jersey anymore, at least. Yeah. So there's that, and then for
so
Jersey.
Like, I know you talk about doing little reports. So how would that work? Like if I was to contact you to be one of your reporters, how would that work? I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Yeah. So that's something that's definitely been done. So always looking for other people who are really passionate about going out and reporting. Right now at its peak, had about 6 six, seven, eight bloggers in various places, or I guess you could call them freelance writers. I call them bloggers on the site and when I post on social media.
Right.
But yeah, it's if for writing for Jersey Indie or contributing or taking clips of concerts of bands that you're friends with, etc. It's just as simple as reaching out to me and saying, hey, I'd love to cover some things. I think there are people that you might not know about that I think more people should know about, different genres or whatever it might be. And so that's something that that I'm always open to. And for all our they essentially are freelancers, so it's not full-time employees, but it's on an independent contractor basis. So that means you also get the flexibility to go wherever you want and submit as often as you want. If you just want to submit once every 3 months, you can do that. If you want to submit every single week an article, you can do that too.
So is it an article or is it a video shoot?
Right. So there have been both. So a lot of especially during the pandemic, it's been more like interviews. So people might, in the past, they would sit down and maybe do an interview and then transcribe it, or they would just do simply an article. They talk to somebody and then do their own summary about it. And then also before the pandemic, there was a video aspect, especially one, vlogger, video blogger would go out, and he was heavily involved in the music scene because he was involved in various bands and he was in more South Jersey. So he'd go to a lot of shows and get little video clips, and then we'd talk to the bands and they'd approve the little clips and be like, oh, okay, sure, you can post this on social media and tag us and all of that. And while the clip is up there, tell people like, hey, we have a show coming up next Friday. So while they're watching this little clip, it's like, this is what you can expect at next week's show.
Right.
So there's really a variety of whatever people most feel comfortable with. And now that's increasing too, to doing Zoom interviews. If you don't want to travel to physically meet somebody or talk to somebody, you can do a Zoom interview and submit that as your article or your quote unquote blog post.
Wow.
So,
and where do you view that? Like when we submit that to you, where do you view that?
Where do I post it at the end?
Yeah, where do you post it?
Yes. So it goes on the website. So that's jerseyindie.com. Jersey like New Jersey, indie like in indie music. So INDIE.com. And it also goes on our YouTube channel if it's video based, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So a few different places.
So when we do a video for the coupon that's going to support the organization, can we submit that to you?
Yes, absolutely. You are welcome to submit to me anytime. Anything that you think should be on my radar, I'm happy to spread the word about that.
Oh, thank you. We're because like Jim said before, he does it in Long Island, but I'm going to branch out to New Jersey so that we can create this coupon on the internet, and because I know a lot of people and businesses in New Jersey, so it'd be good to promote it on your New Jersey site. That's like the perfect thing. It's funny. I love the way things just kind of flow, and Judy just does this all the time. Her timing is just like naturally good. Like it just like I had no idea. We had no idea that Jim would go out and buy a new set, a new board last week, and so we'd have to test it this morning. And we would talk about the partnership today, and then you're on the show, and you could like it just flows. It just blows me away. It just blows me away. That the work that Judy does, pulling everything together. So thank you, Judy. You're just a blessing to us.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your other business as well.
Yes. So the Jersey Indie side. Yes. So that is, as I had mentioned, working with a nonprofit that did these 2-3-minute news pieces that were video based, and from there I wanted to expand and tell more stories. So my brother has been in bands since he was in middle school. I frequent small businesses, and my dad plays the piano, and my mom's a small business owner. She's a therapist, and so I've always been surrounded by artists and entrepreneurs.
Right.
And so I wanted to be able to tell their stories as well, and not have as many constraints as it having to be something that was a very tight news piece, but being able to do something that's a little more long form, or that may be, text based or with pictures, or just, kind of have lots of different options of helping shine a light on these different people or organizations or musicians or community groups. And so, so that's been going on about, 6-7 years. And through Jersey Indie, it's covering all of New Jersey. So from top to bottom, from coast to border. And as I had mentioned earlier, having bloggers in different parts of New Jersey. New Jersey is such a vast state and such a diverse state, not only in people, but also geography, just diverse in every single way. You could be sitting on the parkway, or you could be in the middle of a field with horses or soybeans. If you're in South Jersey.
We have everything. We do. We have the beach. We have the country. We have skiing. We have we do. We have everything. I mean, everything is right at our fingertips, but we pay for it.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yes. Sometimes in more ways than one. but yes. It's just trying to. And I was really motivated for the New Jersey end because of having worked on different, video sets and film sets in New York. I'd get a lot of responses. People would ask, "Oh, okay, where in New York are you from?" And I'd say, "Oh, no, I'm from New Jersey." Right. And I'd always be met with this audible groan of, "Oh, what? Why would you choose to live in that cultural wasteland where there's no talented people? And it's why would someone want to live there?" And so that's why I decided to start Jersey Indie, because it was just about New Jersey.
You showed them all.
Yeah, so I wanted to do something, because it's one of those things, right? Because there wasn't like a time out New Jersey where you go to, like, I would spend all my weekends going to New York to see, because that's where all my friends lived. Right. And it'd be like, oh, it's so easy to figure out what there is to do in New York, because there's so many, like, there's things exploding everywhere just that are happening and exciting, and places to go and places to eat and venues and art and culture and everything. And New Jersey was more of like a harder thing because it was so spread out. So it's a little bit different, a city and boroughs versus like an entire state. I mean, it's a lot longer commuting time, but to just bring a little awareness too for people living in the state. That was one of my favorite things, getting responses from people that are like, "Hey, I never realized that my favorite band lives in the same town that I do, or that there's been an open mic a block away from my house for the last X number of years." It's like, thank you for letting me know about this. I didn't even know this was happening in my town. So, and now I do. Wow. So, yeah.
So, Jim, you did something for music as well. We should talk about that, because Jim, we were just talking about this before again, that he did the Best Band on Long Island, an award.
Well, the Rockstar Awards.
We were talking about doing it in New Jersey as well.
Yeah, the Rockstar Awards.
The Rockstar Awards.
It's kind of like the Best of Long Island, but it's called the Rockstar Awards. It's and my idea was to do it start off with the entertainment field, but it's not limited to that, because Best of Long Island has everything. They have chiropractors, they have, but that's a big undertaking. So I did it as a sample once. I put it live for like a week, and I collected like thousands of emails, because people just want to nominate people and nominate themselves and vote for people. So it was a good networking.
We should work on that though with Sonia. We should start the New Jersey branch of that, Jim.
Right.
The Rockstar Award. It would bring some light to some great bands.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. I love it.
What do you think about that, Sonia? You want to work on that with us?
Yeah, and I'm happy to do the opposite as well. And if there's anyone in Long Island who should get some coverage or a shout out, I'm happy to send them my way. I imagine you get the same thing that I do, where it's, you open your inbox and all of a sudden there's 1,000 emails.
Exactly.
Yes. Hard to get to everybody, but but yeah, I would be happy to, like I mentioned, I'm going to expand now outside of New Jersey, because now I realize everybody's, during this pandemic, you realize that it's not just
it's
the state,
a big world.
it's everybody, right? That it's changed a little bit. So now it's like, oh, it doesn't have to be just New Jersey.
Right.
It can expand. And it
Yeah,
can be,
there's no limit.
someone in
There's no
California
boundaries
or
anymore.
Nova Scotia.
There's no boundaries
Well,
really.
that's what Jim
Yeah.
said before. Jim said, and I said, oh, we should do a New Jersey branch. And I says, okay, I could just tag it New Jersey branch, like really doesn't, it's not limited now.
Yeah.
It's not limited. So we're so happy to have met you, Sonia. I think we're going to do work together. We're going to help each other. We're going to make the world a better place together, which is really all of our visions and why we're here on this earth. I think anyway, to help.
You're right.
So thank you so much, Sonia, for joining us today. This is only the beginning of Judy. Tell Sonia before we go, like how you welcome into our family, and how every person who has been on our show has gotten to be a part of our family, and we really have grown. So tell Sonia a little bit about that.
Well, Sonia, everybody, as Renee said, is part of our family once they've been on the show. And the bigger plan is one of the big stadiums, maybe Yankee Stadium or one of them, is going to be filled with our family.
Yes, definitely.
And everyone will have a story about how they connected with Renee.
No, yeah,
I like that.
I like it.
And you'll love this, Sonia and Jim, that it'll be a concert that I'll be holding.
Amen.
Definitely.
That's where, because
Renee's a multi-talented lady in so many areas. And and we're going to promote your movie too.
Yeah, I'm working on a movie.
Don't forget about the movie.
My movie is called Extra Inning because I'm writing the book and my stroke happened on the softball field, and I am an advocate for playing softball. So I love softball and music, in my life. So yeah, it's called Extra Inning, and it's, what are you going to do with the next? What are you going to do? You're gonna quit, or are you gonna fight to win the extra inning? Because I'm in the extra inning of my life that after my stroke. So, but I don't know if you know this, but the opening song, All Fired Up, is me singing. So and Jim laughed when I send him that song. We're doing a Sunday morning show, and we're having All Fired Up. It's like pump people up, get them going. On a Sunday morning, it's more, people would think more like, oh, let's ease in.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, nope, get into my
Wake
world.
up.
All fired up, I love it. So that's our vision, is to have a concert and just bring everybody together and spread the love and really support each other and really, have just love each other through it. So it's important. But you're part of our family. Now that's our
Welcome to our family, Sonia.
Thank you.
We're sending hugs.
Oh,
Yes.
it's a good family to be a part of.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you all three of you for everything that you're doing.
Oh no, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
Jim and I and Judy will be in contact. We'll set something up where we're all working together for the common goal, and we'll start that rock star award in New Jersey, Jim. Okay,
we can get that going.
What's that?
We could definitely get that going.
Okay, good. All right, we're gonna go because we're into an hour. But we always blow our kisses, Sonia. Before we go, thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, these our shows are really about education and informing people, and we hope that we touch your lives and bring you a little bit of love into your life and enjoyment, and to love each other through it. That's really the most important thing, is to love each other through it, to not judge people without loving them through it, because we don't know what's going on in their world at that particular time.
Definitely not.
So it really is important to just love people through it, and to be gracious and really be grateful to be on this planet and to be alive and to have the opportunity to interact with other people. And I think that the pandemic really taught us that. Like I said, this pandemic was devastating for a tremendous amount of people. But a lot of gifts came from the pandemic, which I hope that people grab onto and develop and become a new view on life, and how fragile it is. And please don't get back into that hurry, not thinking about life, and not thinking about other people, and not thinking about how you're treating other people. Right. It really is important to be considerate and be conscious. That's the word, conscious of how you're treating other people. So we're going to blow our kisses on 3. You ready? Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a great day. God bless you.
Estoy perdiendo, yo no sé lo que va a pasar. No me puedes escuchar, llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. El día que caminaste por la puerta, todas las memorias fueron. No me puedes oír, no me puedes escuchar. No me puedes escuchar, llorar, llorar. No me puedes escuchar, llorar.